the discussion, we're going to say some of the conditions of the discussions. First, കേൾക്കണില്ല, ഇത് കേൾക്കണില്ല എന്ന്. ഓക്കെ,
ഹലോ
ഹലോ. Okay, our subject is, should the death penalty be banned? So here are some rules and regulations before entering the discussion. First, any person from any group will be given the opportunity to say about his concept, and any person can stand up, and not to standing up, but any person can say his concept. And after that, the other group can say their concept. And after that, any person, we can ask who had begun the first the discussion, can ask the first question towards the other groups, and the other group will be response. Okay, then our discussion will be in the open session. At last, if there is any needed, I will intervene as a moderator. That means it is not in favor of any group, but at the same time it will be in the favor of our discussion and improvement of our discussion. Okay, let's begin now. Here are the two groups. Just to show you chess numbers for the judges. Okay, we can count them. B number 1. Okay, is it okay? B number 1, E number 2, A number 1, number 3, and here D number 1, C number 2, and F number 3. For the convenience of the judges, you can count the numbers as the this just numbers. Okay, yeah, then let's begin now. Here our subject is, should the death penalty be banned? Okay, here from this group, any person can say their concept of this subject.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our subject is death penalty should not be banned, should be banned. And our argument is that it should not be banned, that should be exist in this world for 4 reasons. For 4 reasons, we want that the death penalty should not be abolished in this world. For an apparent approach towards this topic, the first one is deterrence. The deterrence that will prevent the future murders and will provide here a safe environment. The Joshua Marcos, the Attorney General, who also an authorized post in Oregon, she says that about 70 murders are being prevented by one death penalty. That's just an example for the first reason for the deterrence. And the second one, its correlation to the criminal right in any country. The criminal right of a country is deeply connected with other sectors of that country. It will affect them at all means. And the third one, it will provide a safer environment to all people. When we consider, when we check, when we compare the countries who still there is the death penalty and the countries banned the death penalty, when we compare both, we can understand that, I think. And the last one will make us to realize the value of the life. Somebody is got the verdict to be executed legally. He will try his best up to the last minute to not be executed. By these 4 reasons, we want it should not be abolished. It should not be banned from this world.
Person from here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning to one and all, my dear friends and respected personalities present here. Now we are in this morning to have a discussion on the topic, should death penalty be banned? And I firstly opine that death penalty is crime to the human justice and humanity. And we in this 21st century has no value. Death penalty has no value. This mental psychological treatment and has much developed and improved in this world. So what is the need of death penalty in this 21st century? And I just put forward the words of Gandhi, that an eye for an eye will only bring the whole world as blind. And now my friend here have said that death penalty, a person being executed will prevent 70 murders. But at the same time, Sigmund Freud said that the psychological treatment have proved much better than the treatment with armed forces. And this kind of punishment, death penalty, that what we say capital punishment, were only prevalent in traditional cultures. And why are we still obsessed with this death penalty? I wonder in this time. And the right to life is everyone's life. It is everyone's right to live in this world. And I here assert that no man is born in impure situation, and no man is there who will not be treated as much with mental psychological treatment. So death penalty should be abolished verily, and in place of that, much mental treatment and what we say moral sessions should be implemented. Thank you.
Okay. In relation to this subject, any person from this group can ask the question towards this group.
You said that the death penalty is not suitable to the present scenario of the 21st century. But how could you say that? How could you say that? What is the proof for that?
It is extreme obnoxious to take one life instead of another life. A person can't give a life, so he have no right to take another life. So according to Amnesty International, in many countries, the death penalty is abolished and banned. No useful. But we can figure out from these horrific incidents, it is not meaningless in many countries, so it is banned.
Okay, you said...
Okay, 1 minute. Okay.
Can I add on that? When we look on the statistics, in 1977, it was just 17 countries where death penalty or capital punishment had been abolished. But by 2040, it came up to the level of 140 countries. So by over the ages and days and ways, the human community or world around us have come much closer to the conviction that death penalty should be abolished. This report says like that. And responding to my fellow opponent Shan, who said that basically and originally he stated that there are 4 causes for what death penalty should not be abolished. And he said as one of it, deterrence. So when a death penalty is executed, the government or the authorized organization can deter the rest of the world, rest of the community from doing the very same crime again. But I genuinely believe that statistics and facts can speak more better and true than me, because in India, or let's say USA, America, where America is being considered as one among 4 top countries, which covers 87% of global execution that have been taking place in this day. And America is a country where this execution is rigorously executed, this death penalty. But it cannot provide the result as you said. Statistics is definitely contradict to you. And I just checked out a report which was compiled by W.M. Roberts Johnson. He published a report under the title Terrorist Attacks and Related Incidents in the United States, which states that recent attack, the very recent attack in America took place on 12 August this year, 2017, which was in succession of an attack which took place on 24 September this year. So the duration, span of time between these two crimes is much less than a month. And just understand, this is the case and this is the situation where...
Okay, this is a proof for them. Okay.
Okay, first of all, I want to counter what this person said. He said that if one person is killed or murdered in this world, he has no any right to take the life of another. But I think he's already dead, and so he has no right he has no possibility to take the life of another one. But the judgment system or the judiciary has the right to kill another one for the sake of the society, as Nishan said earlier, that for the well-being of the society, for the comfortable movements of the society. And here this man said that the deterrence, that theory is not correct, you said that, but the Isaac Ehrlich, one of the American economists who is mastered in this deterrent theory, he said that for every inmate or every convicted murderer being executed, 7 to 8 of the innocent or the potential victims are spared or escaped from the murder.
Okay, have you anything?
Here, one of my brothers said that the death penalty should be banned because of most of countries are banned today. But can I ask you, I will ask you a question that now a lot of countries in the world give the permission to the prostitution. When we consider the majority, can we say that we have to allow the prostitution in our country also? The decision of majority is not correct, maybe not correct. Here we have to understand another thing, that here my friends said that when we consider America as a country which support the death penalty, there is a lot of crimes. But we have to understand that in America for a long time, they are not, for 10 years, they are not execute the people correctly. The death penalty is not happening in this country for 10 years. The numbers are very low. But when we are considering Saudi Arabia, who is death penalty is very happening every time, or Singapore, there is also happening a lot of death penalties. In these countries, the number of crimes are too low. In Saudi Arabia, according to the Amnesty International, in Saudi Arabia, the statistics is below the 1. It's 0.53 is the statistics. And in Singapore is considering as the most peaceful peaceful nation in the world.
Okay, then right.
I think we have to provide one of the statistic approachment towards your statistics. I think let me say here some of the measurements about it. The mid of the 20th century that you said, 1976. At that time, first before going to that, let me count one of these points. You are saying that the penalty is inhuman. Then you are saying that the alternative way for the punishment, that is a lifetime in a prison. Then there can be seen the lack of the justice, those people who murdered. And the one more thing you said that in 1976, at that time, in 1976 and in 1977, between these 2 years, within this 1 year, in a Big Apple, some people scored for the homicide, and 85 people of them, out of 85 people of them had one previous arrest for the murder. And the 6 people of them had 2 previous arrests of the murder.
and the one people of them had the 4 previous arrests for the murder. In front of us, it is these proofs in front of us. Then how can we say that? And you said that we have to look to the United States, but particularly they are banned the death penalty. In some states, it's not banned. Like Alabama, I think, and some you said about 100 of countries they banned the death penalty, but most of them are small countries. When we check the statistic, when we compare between Saudi and UK and Saudi and US, we can understand that about, let me provide that measurement, about 0.92 murder, total murder happened in the previous year. At that time, 12% happened in USA. When it is compared to the UK, that is 9%. And one more thing, the total crime is 85,594 in Saudi. At that time, 16 million in US and 17 million in UK. When we consider these statistics, I think some of wrong happened in your words, I think.
Okay, this is a counter proof for you. Okay.
It's feeling much funny because just keeping forward the what we say statistics is not a correct solution, because our discussion is should it be banned or not. So I say here, death penalty is being happening in the world, but we'll have to think for what it is happening. Is it in the correct form? What you say means for what we say for crime like killing, or what we in some religions, I don't know, some religions it might be some rules will be there, but I would like to ask here, is death penalty taking place in the correct form? Now again I will have to say, the recent death penalties, what we have seen in this current world is much of the political interest taking place in the world. And now you have kept forward the view that in America and USA is not making the correct form of death penalty. When UN, the United States, came forward with the view of abolishing this death penalty, the retentionists were India, USA, and such countries like in Belarus in Europe. All these countries strongly opposed this decision. Then how can you say that USA is not in the correct form of death penalty? So I opine here that death penalty, the question we'll have to solve is that, is death penalty taking place in the right form?
Yeah.
Okay, my brothers say that the most of the death penalties are being held here are not in a fair or a just way. But it is not sufficient to say that these unfair activities of the judgment system is sufficient to abolish the death penalty completely. We can reform some of the actions or some of the procedures of the judicial system so that we can make it more fair and just. And statistically, you said that most of the world nations, they abolished the death penalty. But when we look at the state of their countries, we can clearly find out that countries where the death penalty is abolished, they are less populous and also they attain a high level of development. And the most populous countries like China and in India and Pakistan and USA, there the death penalty is still available, is still there in these countries. And when the population is so high, the judiciary system have certain problems to completely abolish the death penalty. And shortly we can say that the most of the world countries, they abolished the death penalty, but demographically we can't say that the most of the world population is against the death penalty.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you are just relating our points. You are just what we say for the motion that you just said that death penalty should be banned, because you said that the population, the country with less population, have already abolished this death penalty, and the countries like India, China and USA, where the population are high, are not abolishing. So you say that if there is a chance to abolish this death penalty, it should be done. It should be done. That you are saying. So you are just in accordance with our point, I think so.
No, I just try to encounter your argument, but the reality is that the majority of the world population, they are not against the death penalty.
Sorry?
The majority of the world population, because most of the world population are in these countries, in USA.
Not the world countries, but the majority of the world population is against the death penalty.
Some hundreds of countries are against the death penalty, but by citing that, we can't say that the majority of the world population is against the death penalty.
But we can understand from these horrific incidents that the world are not against this death penalty. The reason is, we in Saudi Arabia, as you said, it is the execution. The one person said, if he did any faulty, the execution would be done. But it is the aim of to appease the relatives of the killed persons only in such countries. But the Islam, these countries put forth some compensation if the killed person's relatives are ready to accept the compensation, who are ready to set free the killed person. We just understand that Islam also not ready to punish such like person as a death penalty. If the killed person's relatives are ready to accept the compensation,
then does Islam accept? Then does Islam accept to be killed those people who should be killed?
Yes.
Yeah, that means
if the killed person's relatives are ready to accept the compensation,
if he deserve the death penalty, should be killed. That means you are saying.
Yes. No. What is the aim of?
And one more thing, and I think he offered.
What is the aim of one punishment? To purify one person. If he is washed from this
Let me
world,
come to that point, and I think there is some of the point should be clarified that we just stated. You just stated what we never clarified as yet. He approached a demographic statistics to them, but as the reason of the misunderstanding, I think you twisted that from. And one more thing, there is a basic thirst in every human, a basic emotion to kill those people who killed his relative or something. So before he killed those people, if they kill that people, the public emotion will support him. Never support that killer. Never support that. One more thing that happened in the recent case that happened in our district, Sri Ayyappan. He killed his Muhammad Kuti for raping his daughter, but any of the people never discouraged him and supported Muhammad Kuti. And one more thing, and you said that there is the politicalization and the politicalization in this field, the penalty. That is the extreme failure. That is the extreme instance for the failure of the prosecution. That is not for the lack of the ethnicity in the death penalty that should be done for those people who killed somebody. And the politicalization that should be eradicated. We have not any other instance, but one thing. We have not any other stance, but one thing. That doesn't mean the death penalty is not equal. Should not be. That doesn't mean the death penalty should abolish from this world. And how long do we hold these convicts in the prison? How long do we hold these convicts in the prison? That's a huge cost for any state that will affect their system. Our system is like a food channel, like a food channel. So every change in this variation that will affect the total country. And when we consider these basic needs of any person, that should be done legally. We need that. If not, suppose if not, he will try his best to kill that person who killed his relative. For the lack of that situation, to not happen that situation, we are urging to not be abolished the death penalty.
Okay.
My fellow opponent just said that every relatives by whom from their family a person was just subjected to rape or a killing, so that relative must have some sort of emotional, and he said it basic. Yes, it is basic, but rather it is a quick emotional response. Actually, what this man get, or what the family would get, whether the murder is being executed, nothing. A main consolation, a brief and short relief may get to them, but really what other in the long run term, what they get.
Yeah.
Another point that if the death penalty is being executed for one who taken leave, there will
the
be
short term relief will be given by the death penalty, and the
Yeah.
long term relief will not be given to them. That is the problem.
But the closure for that ordeal of justice, or the families, a closure for that case. So the family, they can't want to be disappointed about not getting the justice. And one more thing is that the death penalty is also intended to as a retribution, as a retribution for the wrongdoing. When one man is killed from the society, the balance of the society will get disturbed, and only after that balance is restored, or until the balance is restored, the society will succumb to live a life of violence. And so the one of the objective of the death penalty is retribution. And one more thing, that one of my brothers said that it is not fit to today's context, that he said that. But I think he may said that out of his conception that the brutality of the death penalty, the hanging. But in today's context, there are many possibilities for an execution to be done so fairly. Like in USA, there are 5 legal methods of execution, just like lethal injection and electrocution, firing squad, hang and gassing, like that. There are many alternatives for hanging. And also that statistics, I just want to come to that statistics once more. That you said that the statistics say that there is no any proof for the deterrence theory. But I think since until now there is no any correct or accurate study is held until today on this deterrent theory, because of the because this very rare, the death penalty is rarely happening. And also is that there so many time is being utilized in between the even if he is put into the death row to be get executed, there are time consuming is taking. So we should make the death penalty quick and fast.
So let me quickly respond.
One minute. That's it.
Let me add one of more point to his words. I think actually that friend asked me, what will the what will family get by the execution of the death penalty? And there is 2 merits. Let me come to the point. There is 2 merits. The one more thing that can and I have another question that to ask you. What will happen if we leave him free without okay, let me complete. What will happen? And one more thing, the merit that I said, the 2 merit, that it will prevent the further murders that may happen from him, that is one merit. And the second merit, I already said that there's a basic thirst in every human to kill, to provide the revenge towards those people. So here that may happen an extra legal process by his own hands. To not happen that in this world, we need the legalization of the death penalty. By these two merits, we urge, and let me counter your point that.
Okay, let me quickly respond to him. Whether when we say that death penalty should be abolished and could not be executed, in anybody's case, that doesn't mean that convict would be spared free. When we say that death penalty should be abolished, that doesn't mean any convict who charged of a big crime. So let's take a rape case or a killing case. That doesn't mean that convict should spare free. That doesn't mean. So many other ways are there. As my fellow guy Jabir pointed out that in his initial address, that today is the world where psychological treatment and other ways has pretty much progress. So let's think on that measures rather being put this person into ultimate death.
Okay, here
one thing.
Here you made 2 points that
1 minute.
the political interest. By the political interest, a lot of death penalty is misused. My friend Jabir said that through politics interest, the death penalty is misusing. But I have a question that not only the death penalty is misused for the political interest, every punishment is misused by the political interest. So are we going to avoid every punishment because it's misusing by the political interest? No. So only with the arguments that it's misusing by the politics, we can't avoid it. And later you said that there are a lot of other ways like psychological treatment. We can punish him or we can save him from this kind of attitude. But I have another question that if there is a proof or any clear evidence that any psychological treatment could avoid this kind of any psychological
important question.
Is here.
Okay, that's very important question. Any psychological treatment has improved the crime statistics of the country?
I wonder, because why do we much obsessed with this death penalty? Like even my friend were much interested in asking, what will happen if we set him free? If a person who's sentenced to death, we just obsessed with this death penalty and we are not taking an attempt to think much forward. We are not thinking what will happen when we give mental treatment. Because our mind is all set with this death penalty. I here assert that we should think alternative methods. First, only death penalty is not only the ultimate remedy for a person to become good. Because first of all, I have said that every person is born in pure situation. I mean, no person is a criminal and no person is constant in his criminal. Now we just put forward the question that is there any stories or events for mental treatment, the person who became good in mental treatment. We can see, first of all, the main problem is that first of all we didn't take an attempt. We didn't take an attempt to
you told
take the mental treatment.
A lot of nations.
They are asking to you that.
That's what I'm saying. First of all, we didn't take an attempt till now by giving this mental treatment. I said that we should give mental treatment.
But you have indicated there are some countries who has taken this attempt.
I said that the countries have abolished. Many countries have abolished. But that what I just say out of my opinion, I opine that if we give, and many histories in the era of Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, I think he's in the religion had given many psychological treatment, and we can see many stories and events of his companions who became in the straight path from who were a big criminal in his past, became much good and a model person in the history of the world.
Okay. Then.
Here we have to
1 minute. 1 minute.
Our brother said that it will prevent others to perpetuate the criminal, but it is not true. But in our independent India, the killer of Gandhi, Godse, was the first penalty in India. But he killed Gandhi, the execution is done. But after that, we can see many such like the death penalty is happened. The many criminals are prevailing in such country. Many kinds of, but you just want to understand that it is completely barbarism and a primitive one. In 1976, a book, the Beccaria, he published a book, De Deliti Delipen. He clarified in the book the injustice against the death penalty. In the base of this book, many countries abolished the death penalty from their country. So we can figure out it is not fair to the people. The aim of a punishment is to purify one man. And if we...
The question is, if there is any statistical report that the psychological treatment, none other than the death penalty, is very good to the people and is very good to the population.
Okay, if a thief became a police, what would be there? If a thief became a police, what would be there?
Okay.
Firstly, I want to counter what Brother Jabir has said. He said that we are so obsessed with the death penalty. But the reality is that the death penalty is given only to those rarest of rare cases. Not all the cases or all the crimes are given the death penalty. Only those of rarest of rare cases are given the death penalty. And it is in the case of India, the rarest of rare that usage. But in Malaysia, there are certain crimes that would be given the death penalty. And according to a recent study in Japan, there are 3 categories of criminals. First, those criminals who are being criminal on the ground of that, they are marginalized or exploited or out of their poverty or so on. And these criminals, they wouldn't deserve a death penalty. But the second category criminals, they are killers, murderers, out of their, emotional outbursts. And these murderers, they are also given, they should be given the cooling of time, and they should be treated not like those deserve the death penalty, but they deserve the life imprisonment and so on, like the the killers in Somalia and the Rohingyan. And like that, the third category people, they are those who are the spree killers or serial killers. They deserve the death penalty. So we want to consider these points.
My friend submitted here a psychological suggestion. But I think there is a concept, a psychological concept, recidivism, that is totally contradictory with your theory. The recidivism means that there is a phenomena to return to the previous behavior structure, especially to the criminal background. That means recidivism. According to this word, according to this concept, the recidivism, those people, those killers who was left from the, who were kept away from the death penalty, they will return into their own previous behavioral structure. That's another psychological concept, that is recidivism. And you also accepted that there is no country so far that implemented successfully any psychological approachment to prevent the murders, for the dropping the law rate, for dropping the rate, the murder rate in this country. You already said that. I think this psychological concept totally contradictory. And one more thing, you said the Islamic concept of the, and there is also another verse in Quran, lakum fil qisas hayat. We never ask the death penalty in all cases. We never ask for that. But in the particular cases, in the cases in which the killers are beyond redemption, in such cases. And one more thing. And we never ask for those killers who that happened from them as part of a mistake or by the emotional approach towards those killers, as I mentioned above, as the emotion that may kill her daughter or son by somebody. We don't ask the death penalty in such cases.
Okay, right.
My friend pointed out that the death penalty only be executed in the rarest of rare cases. Here we just should take more focus on the term rarest of rare, because one case which is considered the rarest of rare in a country may not the same the rarest of rare in another country, because in Saudi Arabia adultery is a rarest of rare cases which can be given the capital punishment, but it is not the same case in India. Adultery is not a crime that could be given a death penalty in the case of India. So this rarest of rare, the term rarest of rare is some of pretty much complication, I think so, and it is this very same case in terms of judges and persons. When a judge considers a crime that is rarest of rare, this person may not seem the same in another case.
Okay, here you made 3 points. That first, my friend Jabir said that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, said that give us a good model of mental treatment or psychological treatment. But I would like to support my friend that the same Prophet taught us that وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. And by describing this ayah, this verse, Imam Razi said that قَتْلُ الْبَعَلِ إِحْيَاءُ الْجَمِيعِ, which means if we are killing somebody and if it will help to preserve everybody, it is a good way of treatment. And we have to understand another thing, that here my brother said that the execution is happening every day, but the crime rate is not decreasing. But I have a question, that the crimes is decreasing, or the crimes is where the court and the law is existence. So can we say that we have to avoid the court and the law, because even it is existence, the crime rate is increasing in every day. And in
Great. Okay, I think it's a debate. Why should death penalty be abolished? It's just a discussion, and we are just putting forward a suggestion that psychological treatment can be implemented. And then let me complete my vision. Okay, it's just a suggestion. Then you should not oppose us. Where is the proof? I have already said that we have still obsessed with this death penalty, and we just didn't take an attempt to do that. If we do, we can see the result. One thing, and you have just put forward the verse of Quran, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ. At the same time, the Quran itself says that إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا مِنْ قَبْلِ أَن تَقْدِرُوا عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah is forgiver. Those who repent from his crime, we should, when our Creator forgive us, then why don't we forgive? And this only for the temporary emotions. What we are killing, and we have many other alternative ways. We can levy him tax or punishment as compensation. If we get the compensation, it's much interesting, because when he is killing, one man is lost. We are just destroying his chance to become a good person, and the family of the murder will not accept the temporary emotions. But in place of that, if they get some money, how interesting it will be.
Then please adjourn that both verses. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا and لَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ. Somebody killed somebody. Then what is the final verdict of Islam? Then
What is the final word of Islam?
If somebody killed somebody, you said both. You recited both ayats. Illa alladhina tabu and lakum fil qisasi haya. Then please adjoin those both verses. And what is the final verdict of Islam and final approach of Islam towards this?
So now our discussion is surrounding on the prophetic word. Walakum fil qisasi haya. And Quranic word. Anyway, Islamic approach. In this case, what I have to say is, what I am willing to say that this very Islam and this very prophet who said to Ma'iz, who was brought in front of prophet, being charged of zina, prostitution, and prophet was at that time, prophet was repeatedly asking, just remember whether you have sometime whether you have done unknowingly. And this very Islam.
But that is in a particular case. In the prostitution, I asked about the murder.
Okay, you are just asking us that, just adjourning. You just take the history. How many persons have been stoned or killed, prosecuted in the era of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
That the subject is not deviated here, because our discussion has begun from this point. That means Islam is in favor of death penalty.
That's
in some cases.
Saying.
Okay.
But
at the same time, there is an opportunity to forgive.
It's only for the deterrence.
But it is not the final word of Islam. Islam says that penalty should be allowed.
Sure, maybe.
Okay.
Islam.
Just to begin from this point.
I think we have to. We are only focusing on the Islamic concept, and we have to slip apart from this topic. It's okay. And that you said that about India and Saudi Arabia, comparing both countries. That is the extreme failure of the procedure. I know the procedure, extreme instance for the failure of the procedures. We are discussing about the logic of the death penalty, not the failure of the.
What logic is there in this death penalty?
Let me complete. Let me complete.
What logic?
Okay, he can say.
We are discussing about the logic of the death penalty, not about its procedure or the procedure and about its failure. And you suggested here a psychological suggestion. You never put here in front of us any successful instance that happened so far. And one more thing, but we have to put in front of you that dropped the low rate, dropped the murder rate and the criminal rate in the country by the statistics, by comparing the Saudi with other countries, comparing Saudi with the UK and comparing Saudi with the US, who particularly and totally banned the death penalties.
Yeah.
Okay. You are repeatedly saying that the logic of this death penalty. That's what we too are saying. The logic of the death penalty. We suggested a formula, and you are not trying to agree. You still ask us the evidences. I have repeatedly said that till now we didn't do that. If we do, that's
because
what
everybody knows that
you just think of the situation, what we do. Just imagine. Imagination is possible for a man.
But
imagine and say.
That is the difference.
That's the difference. Is only the traditional system.
One more thing.
This
That is the difference between you and you are saying standing upon the imagination, but we are saying
about the reality. Sure,
upon the realities and the facts.
That's what I'm saying. In history or the barbarian traditional system, this might be existed. Death penalty. We are just seeking a solution, or we are just having. We in this 21st century with this many good technologies and developed situations, knowledge of this world, we can seek many other ways for making a person good, and by this we can make the society well. We are just obsessing and just keeping following the death penalty is not the right way of punishment. I said suggestion. We can imagine a situation when psychological treatment or
that means
other,
one country has implemented this psychological treatment.
Sorry sir. How can we say without implementing everything before death penalty was not there? Then,
Okay, okay.
the person, when if there had been a discussion before death penalty, then these people who are what we say for the motion of this death penalty may say that we can imagine a situation where death penalty will be there. Then that bring all the differences. Then the person who are against the death penalty will say that is there any evidence? They will ask because death penalty is not implemented. Like that, we are saying that if psychological treatment is not implemented now, and if we are putting forward a new method, what we have said, maybe there will be a difference. That we will have to think. That's what I said. Imagination. Imagination means imagination. All imaginations are not in vain, because some imaginations will be fruitful. So we can try.
Yes. You are saying that we should seek refuge on the psychological treatment rather than the death penalty. But I think that the death penalty is only given on those rarest of rare cases, and these psychological treatments should be given before the crime is committed. And the objective of the death penalty is not only to deter the society, or to deter the potential murders or the convicted murder. So if this psychological treatment is a punishment of the so-called rarest of rare cases, then why should those people, in your opinion, that they would deter from the murder, then how could those people, those potential or prospective murders will deter from the prospective murders?
Okay. So these people mentioned about the logic terms of death penalty. So let's talk on it. I am of the opinion that why should we mandate that a person be given 2 killing instead of 1 killing? For an example, a person a murderer killed a person, and naturally he will be charged of that, and after being charged he may be produced in front of the court, for an example a special court, and court mandated him to execution, and after that he may approach the district court or high court, and high court even convicted him to death penalty, and after that he may go, surely he will go to Supreme Court for his living. So this time between a person being charged of a crime and the execution of the punishment, so this span of time may take in Indian context at least 15 years, because the court has many other several procedures. So this gap, this duration between a person being charged of a crime and his execution may take at least 15 days in Indian context. That's why I say that why we should mandate that a person be killing.
Here, we already told that we are not discussing about the problems in implementing the death penalty. We are only discussing about its logic.
This is the natural duration that comes.
So, if everybody is clear their procedures, are you ready to say that we can agree with the death penalty?
Sorry, I can't hear.
That the procedures will be late for 50 days, but the death penalty is not convicted on this judgment. Procedures will be lasting for 50 days or 50 years. That's not even a problem. The logic of the death penalty is not counted by this judgment.
Okay, it's not based on the judgment. What I said is, what the core point of what I'm said is, these 15 years, this person is lonely and in a separate room in a jail. He is forced to live in loneliness and under much strain and pain. This is one killing, and after that, whether he may be convicted to death penalty, that is the second murder that I'm pointing out.
One more thing, they are saying that the life imprisonment is one killing, and the next death penalty is also another killing. So,
are you saying that?
So I think it is better to implement the death penalty so quickly, so fastly, then this problem is solved, I think.
Yeah, problem is, but that is not what taking place.
So we want to reform the present status quo.
This 15 years that I am pointed out in the case of India, this is the natural duration. That is the natural duration that comes between these two stages.
First of all, we understand that he deserves that kind of the brutal imprisonment because he expressed such kind of the brutal and rapid approach towards a person. He murdered somebody. Thing. This is a question, but before that, we have to find the answer for another question, and that there is two choices. How can be done? How can be given the justice to those people who murdered by leaving this person without death penalty or imprisonment for a lifetime, that is 12 years, and after that choice of government to leave him or not, or to imprison him there. And one more thing, how it will be prevented by your suggestion. But our suggestion, but our facts that we provided here, we proved already that was prevented at a provided here the statistics about that. But by your suggestion, how can you prevent that? That is not happened as yet in this world. We have to find the answer for this question at first, because we slipped from that discussion about how will be given justice to those people who murdered, and how will be prevented by your suggestion. And one more thing, we ask for the death penalty. Those people may think twice before going to kill somebody for the fear of losing his own life. That is the logic. That is a simple logic we find behind this topic.
Okay.
And I can bring out an incident which may support what I said earlier. That is this long span of duration between a person being charged of a crime and the execution of punishment. Robert Pius, one of the convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, wrote to he is convicted to execution, capital punishment, and still being jailed. His execution was not being held until now. And he wrote to the Tamil Nadu government seeking mercy killing because he has suffered a lot. More than 27 years, this person has been in jail, in loneliness and under much pressure and strain and pain.
Okay, here you are saying...
And let me quickly respond to what Mr. Fellow Aprendisan said, that what the relatives of killed person may get if this murder is being spared free. My argument is that whether we family, I have already mentioned that this extreme anger towards a murderer from the part of family is a quick and emotional. It is short term. And this murder is being, whether this murder is being executed, they really and basically don't get any profit. Rather being found a brief and a short-term solution to their extreme main anger. That's
here you told first that...
this question was once raised, okay.
In addition to this point, if instead of killing a person, if you kill a person, he's over. Then no use, and we'll have to think that a man is a resource of this world, and by him there are many usages and utilizations to this world we have to get from him, and just killing a person is not the remedy. And if we keep some compensation, if I kill a person, I will be levied 25 lakh or 30 lakh, I will learn a lesson, and it will be much good for the family of the murder. And the other thing, the temporary emotions, that we should kill him anywhere, with anywhere he should be killed. That only temporary emotions. And if they get 25 lakh or 30 lakh, how use for them will be?
Yeah, my friend first told that in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination, he instantly did. And from your words, I could understand that your problem is the long duration. So if we are avoid the long duration, you are saying that if we executed him the next day, when the court sentenced him to the death, you are ready to accept the death penalty. And your problem
I
is...
think I have already answered to this question.
No.
I have already...
And you same argument again, that he is suffering for a long time in the life imprisonment. He is...
Okay, Rajiv Gandhi assassination which took place in India. And I'm saying in the same country, India, this natural duration could be taken between these two stages. This is not merely in the case of Rajiv Gandhi. For an example, I just mentioned this assassination case. For majority of the cases, that is the matter.
Right.
In the Rajiv Gandhi case, I have to add one more point to the reply of my friend. By this, he may face the death penalty or not in the future. He may face or not according to the Indian law. That made him realize the value of the life. Suppose, society also. Suppose, if there is not such verdict, such kind of the execution, the death penalty, what he will think? If he gets caught by the policeman, they will never go to execute him legally. That will encourage him to repeat what he did in the past. And one more thing. You said that there is the human resources in this world, and he eradicated one of the resources. He killed one of the resources of this world in order to protect. In order to protect somebody in this world, we have to eliminate somebody. We have to eliminate somebody. That is the basic phenomena and the basic concept of this world.
Okay.
Now, how good it will be if we make if we will have to protect somebody, we'll have to eradicate someone. I don't think it's the correct ideology of the humanity, because...
Okay, you told that, you give a suggestion that psychological treatment. But there is a problem. Because everybody can think that before he killing, I will get only the punishment of psychological treatment if I killed him.
Psychological treatment is not a punishment.
I will get only the psychological treatment if I kill him. I will never get any kind of punishment. So it will encourage him to kill that man.
Okay. So
the psychological treatment is not a good method. And
so
if you have any other suggestion,
then we can do one thing. It's good to give him psychological treatment or compensation. Only psychological treatment is not the unique way, but we can give compensation, and many other ways are there. And if he's not becoming virtual, he's not becoming good after the psychological treatment, then we can think about this death penalty or some other form.
I just want to add some point to what he said.
1 minute.
Please. That he said that the psychological treatment is no longer a punishment to deter.
Once again. Okay.
Please. My brother said that we have to we have to punish the criminal by imposing the compensation. But I think same like what my brother said in the case of psychological treatment, the compensation is also no longer an punishment to deter enough the society from the crimes. And also, I want to counter the point of my brother. He said that that life imprisonment is killing the convicted twice. But I think that life imprisonment is intended to for those innocent people who were convicted to get requited from the case, from the crime, or from those convicts, and it is in favor of those murderers, those innocent people there in the prison. So this long term is intended to those innocent people to get out from the prison.
But if the death penalty is
1 minute.
Okay. Here I would like to add to something that you told that the compensation is a good way, but I would like to ask a question that if a For a rich man, he is ready, he is capable to give the compensation. But for a poor man, he is not ready. Here we can see an inequality. For instance, Ambani can kill everybody because he have the money, but I am not able to kill everybody because I have no money to give the compensation. There is an inequality, and every rich man kill everybody because he has the money to give the compensation. So that way also not a good one.
The compensation and psychological treatment is not one and lone punishment that we are advocating for. This is one amongst many, whether it is psychological treatment or compensation. There are so let's ponder on so many other ways that could be given to these culprits. So rather instead of
can you suggest any other way? Can you suggest any other way without compensation or what you said, without compensation? Without compensation or psychological treatment, can you suggest any other way?
Suggestions are many. We can
give.
We can have one is psychological treatment, then the other one is compensation. We can give many works for him. In the prison, we can practice many works with him, and we can and many other.
Let me simply add on it. When we check the current situation in jail, actually what is happening that culprits are being treated good because for an example, I think a culprit and statistics also reports that in the majority of cases where death penalty is issued, death penalty is convicted, those culprits are coming, majority of those culprits are coming from backward and economically and socially backward classes. In India, those culprits are coming from Dalits, minority communities. Those people are not economically well. And what these culprits who coming from economically and socially backward classes may get in jail, they get food at frequent intervals. Whether they are out, they may be forced or sometimes
you are still speaking about the
they want to beg. But in jail, they are treated as good. And what we are advocating that, what we are arguing that this also be changed. Let me say, in the case of culprits and convicts who are punished or who are going to be executed, and the murderers of rapers should be given rigorous imprisonment, and they should be forced in jail to go for a job and so that
you are still saying in the problem of implementation the law. You are not saying it's logic. You are still saying about the problems in our country in the implementation of law.
You have already suggested 3 solutions apart from this death penalty, and you have only the death penalty.
And when I offered an approach, an observation without a partition towards our discussion, towards our debate between our facts and your imagination, I could find that we proved here with so many statistics, but you could never said any form of the alternative way of the punishment. You are saying about more than saying about the alternative way of punishment. You are saying about the treatments. You just provided a simple punishment that is not apt for that he doesn't deserve when we consider when we compare with the cruelty that when he did. And one more thing we have to understand, that justice is not only letting the people to live in this country, but to eliminate somebody to let others to live here. The Arham he checked around 7,000 cases. The court verdicted for the execution. Never implemented. Some of that implemented, but 7,000 cases. He never found any kind of the presence against to the law, against to the. None of them were innocent. Those culprits, 7,000 persons, none of them were culprits. So
for the betterment of the society, for sustaining the peaceful situation in this society, in this world, we have to eliminate somebody. Why don't you have the tolerance to accept this reality?
The death penalty is on the basis of social improvement and social equity.
I greatly and strongly oppose this view. Death penalty is not at all the correct solution for the society to be in the right path. Instead, death penalty, what I have said, is a crime to the humanity, because killing in the last 2016, according to the Amnesty International report, 1032 people have been killed. My God, misfortune to the world. This much people being killed in the world. What a great loss to the world. And you are saying that the person who killed a person must be eradicated from this world. But is the murder case, assassination taking place in this world, are they the real makers? In most of the situations, many people are from the local society who are just trying to bread their life, are killing by the order from the upper caste. And they are the real makers. And I would like to ask, if a person who killed, the real makers should be killed and eradicated. Otherwise, a person killed, this will get repeated, because they will again make, the real makers of this assassination will again entrust another person to kill other person, and he will be killed. And again these makers are not being eradicated. So they should be eradicated, and not the one who killed. Maybe they are the poor people who are just seeking the bread of their life.
You said that these killers should be killed, should be executed by. I think that you said that makers should be killed or executed, but I think these killers should be executed, because there is no need for those killers to obey the rules of that makers. And one more thing I want to say, that you suggest some ways, alternatives of the death penalty, that compensation and psychological treatment. But I think these measures are not sufficient to fulfill one of the most important objective of the death penalty, that deterrence. Because the people, they fear the death most than anything else, than any punishment. They fear death most. And those murderers, those convicted murderers, they fear most the death deliberately being implemented by the court and law. And those the things the people fear most are more sufficient to deter most.
Okay.
So, for an instance, I want to cite the life history of one of the prominent or one of the reputed serial killer, Ted Bundy. If we look at the life history of Ted Bundy in prison, he had already been sentenced to death penalty, but he had to wait a long 9 year before the execution. And he and his fellow lawyers, they do their best level to get out the prison. And there he every single legal point he seek refuge to get out the prison.
Okay.
And this says that the killers, the murderers, they fear the death most.
Okay.
Once again. Okay.
And one more thing to be added to the reply of my friend. And you stand by mentioning here the statistics of these people, and what a cruelty. They killed, they murdered, they executed legally in this world. Just think oppose. What will happen? They will not be killed, executed legally. What will happen? What will happen? That we proved by statistics. I don't like to repeat it again. And you stated here about Amnesty International. I just checked their statistics. I think they're trying to hide some facts that is against to the some theories that they provided, such as about the measurement about the Saudi Arabia and what happened there, and about the Singapore and what happened there. They're trying their best to hide these also. Then why don't you provide? Why don't you offer any kind of the approach to without the partition? Because they have an agenda, that's their own discrimination right. I don't like to interfere, but they are trying their best to hide these facts also.
Okay.
Okay.
My friend is saying that the killer should be killed, and the makers will continue to provide to what we say to kill the people, to kill the people of the world, and we are much happy in giving death punishment to the people. So the crime will continue, and we will continue our death punishment. It's a wrong view, wrong vision of this world. And let me ask, you have started, these people, the people who agree with you have started this death penalty for years ago, eras ago, and why don't we find a remedy? Why don't we find a remedy till now?
In the nation where the death penalties were a strict law, the rate of crimes are reduced to a very low level. I already told that the statistics of Singapore and Saudi Arabia. If we implement the same situation in all over the world, we could reduce the crimes in the world. That's the thing we have to consider.
Okay. And so, my dear friend, it's too much to insist me to repeat about the statistics. You are trying that we are aiming at to execute only. But more than aiming at the execute, we want to drop the criminal right in any country. That's our aim. But where? I already submitted the statistics between the countries who holds the. Let me complete. Let me complete, please.
Okay,
Let me complete. I already submitted here the statistics between those countries who holds the verdict of execution, the legal execution, and those countries who never support the legal execution. I already submitted. It's too much to insist me to repeat that statistics. You may feel bored when I.
You just answer my question. You are just consoled by the statistics put forward by you. But just answer. Where's the remedy? For traditional period, from traditional period, medieval or before that period, you have started this death penalty. And where's the remedy? For centuries, where is the remedy?
You said the makers should be killed, and I said that the killers should be killed. And we have to look at one another point here, that when these killers, those killers are not ready to obey the directions of those makers, there is no any independent stand for those makers. So we want to kill these killers, we want to execute these killers, so we are deterring the killers, the potential or prospective killers, from killing in the future.
Our argument is that any punishment that be given to any crimes should be for the cause of social improvement and social cause. My fellow opponents also have pointed out that fact. Okay, we are strongly advocating for that, because any person or any murderer or any culprit is not wrong just for his own reasons, because a culprit is a product of society or the circumstances or surroundings where he lives in. So for an example, let's take the case of Soumya case. And who was the? Govindachami. He was a street-born person. To the almost full of his life, he spent all of his years, all of his life in streets. Not much being not much educated, or not being got any job. So let's take on these problems of unemployment or less education in society, and
okay,
that should be eradicated. Unemployment and lack of the education, that should be eradicated. We have not any other.
And then we will find a remedy.
Let me comment. There is no other opinions. And let me give a humorous reply to that. Well, how much was the weight of Govindachami before he imprisoned? And that's a humorous talk. But one more thing. You said that any punishment. Let me come to the point, to the talk of my friend who talked before you. Any punishment should provide should provide a remedy at all means. I think it's not possible to provide a remedy 100% remedy in this world at all means, but it is possible to such an extent that is being happened, that is we are getting by the execution of the death penalty. And one more thing that when we compare the between your suggestion and what is happening in this world, most of that between your suggestion that have a psychological treatment and the penalty and financial penalty and such compensations, sorry, thanks for that word, compensations. And when we compare your suggestion and our facts that we are providing here, that is possible at all means by our facts. It's not possible, it's not quite possible rather than our ways that we are supporting.
Okay. Here my friend made a good point. I would like to appreciate you first, that the punishment want to the social improvement. Here I want to ask you a question, that when we are considering the statistics, we can understand that in the countries where the death penalty is avoided, the crime rate is very low, rates are very low. And in the country where the death penalty is avoided, the rate is very high. So who is actually implementing the capital punishment? In those nations where the death penalty is avoided, by avoiding the death penalty, actually they are killing their people without making any strict law against the high problems or the very big crimes.
I genuinely believe that the statistics that you just gave is not accurate, is not correct. Because I have already mentioned earlier that America is...
And I already told that America...
Let me complete. America is one of the top 4 countries which covers 87% of global execution. And what is the case of America?
Okay.
And I pointed out that 2 terrorist attacks which have been taken place...
In America, for long years, America is not promoting the executing. In America, the executing is happening only particular. But in this, not in the Saudi Arabia and the Singapore, the executing is not a particular one.
Okay, then
so we have
we have only 35 minutes remain here to end up discussion. And here is a question, I think so, that only the single crimes are discussed here for the death penalty. At the same time, there are some brutal cases. The mass cases, mass murdering. The death penalty is a very good solution for this mass murdering. Okay, you can say, is the death penalty is very good solution for the mass murdering?
Yes, the death penalty is only one solution for the mass murdering. And you later you said about the Govind Jami, the case of Govind Jami and the street, he come in a street and the unemployment was his problem. But there are a lot of unemployed people and a lot of other people are living in the street. If we avoid the Govind Jami from the death penalty by considering this point, they will have the courage to kill the other people because they have the same situation.
Okay.
Okay, in mass case.
Okay.
Mass crime.
Riots, something like that.
Okay, if I kill you five of you, in whose place I am being killed? If I kill you, in whose place I am being killed? Instead of that, if I am being levied 25 lakh to the relatives of all of you, then it's equalization.
I already told that.
This is what we are saying of the equalization.
If we consider the compensation as if we consider the compensation, then the rich people can kill everybody. If I have the money, I can kill everybody because I am able to give the compensation. So what's your option to punish him?
That's what I'm saying. You just answer our question.
The killing is only one way we can implement in this world.
What implementation? I'm just asking whose place I'm being killed. Answer to that question.
Not only one place and in every place, because the only one thing or the only one punishment we can give him in this world is that the killing or the execution. And beyond that, there is no way. If you have any option, you can suggest it.
We are of the opinion that death penalty could not be given as a punishment to any case, including mass murdering. For an example, I can point out an incident that took place recently in America. A man killed 59 persons in a firing, and this man was later reported as he was ill-minded. Some problem he had.
Mass murder reported from the America. Please look upon the America. They are implementing the death penalty particularly. Some of states, in some of their states, it is banned. In some of their states, it is a law. But it is being implemented particularly. And that's a reality, consider that. And in UK, there were also reported so many mass murders. But in any country, you can provide the mass murders which implemented properly the death penalty. I can put in front of you the Singapore and Saudi. They are implementing this law, not India. There is a death penalty, but they are not implementing that properly. But I am saying about the countries who implemented that properly. Can you provide any country that happened in mass murder? But I can provide UK. There is no death penalty. In US, particularly not the penalty, and in the status they are supporting penalty, it's not working properly.
Okay.
Let me quickly respond to it. You are continuously quoting just Singapore and Saudi Arabia. What is the case of Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is a nation where 47 death capital have been executed in one day. This was not as a result of committing a barbarous act. What is the case of Saudi Arabia? For the sustain of the government there, Salafi government there, they are executing vastly the Shias there.
Yes. Here the moderator asked us the question that whether in the case of mass murder, the death penalty is a punishment. And I think it is the one and only punishment in case of mass murder, because in the case of mass murder we can see that the convicted murder, he's incurable. He wouldn't be retrievable or inhabitalized later. So it is the one and only way to punish the mass murder. And you said that when you kill these 5 people, then in whose place you are being killed or executed? I say that you collectively kill us all, so you are collectively being executed in place of us all.
At your introductory discourse, you mentioned 4 reasons for why should death penalty not be executed, and you just mentioned 4 reasons behind for what reason a punishment be given, and I think you have deliberately ignored just one: rehabilitation. What rehabilitation means? To restore a person to normal stage, and this cannot be this cannot be get in the case of death capital.
Yes.
This restoration could not be
the penalty can be replaced by the rehabilitation. That's the question.
There is a time. You earlier said that there is a long time being held before the execution being held. So that long time is his time for rehabilitation and repent and remorse. That is in religiously if we are taking the Islamic examples for proving our side. So I say that in both Christianity and Islam, there is a concept that if the murderer he sincerely remorse or repent, he would be inhabitated in the next world, in the hereafter. So I think it's an answer to your question.
Oh, so you are saying that he don't have the right to be rehabilitated in this world. That is a great sin you are doing, because if we give a chance for him to become a good person, a moral person,
but rehabilitation is only one. Rehabilitation is only one point. Only one.
You just think of the situation. How good it will be. Then all we can live in this world with peace and tranquility. I think it's the best thing. Either than or instead of killing a person simply. We are just rushing to kill a person.
The rehabilitation
Why are
is
we
not
so
the
obsessed with that?
Okay, once again.
The rehabilitation is not the main point of this death penalty. Objectives of the death penalty. It is deterrence and retribution.
Oh, but why? Why don't a chance?
If the retribution or the returns are fulfilled, it is enough to justify the death penalty.
Okay, sir.
Hey,
One second.
rehabilitation is...
Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute.
You are saying about the rehabilitation, and why we don't put forward a movement to form such a law for the rehabilitation? We have to consider the common factor. Rehabilitation may happen in rare cases, but when you legislate, we have to consider the common factor. That is impossible at all means. Even in this era, till this century, the world never received such kind of the approachment towards the legalizations. Why? Because they know it is not possible at all means. That may happen in the rarest of the rare cases. That cannot be considered for the legislation. We have to consider the fact and what is happening here for the legislation. So it is possible through death penalty that is being considered, and such kind of the penalties.
And what we executing the death penalty, actually we are doing that, we are escaping a lot of people who will be murdered in the future. You are just, I am very wondered that why are you always saying about the justice of killer, and you have to think about the justice of the man who murdered.
That's
and
very important question. You are thinking about the justice of the killer only, but you have to think the justice of the victim also.
We are not advocating. We are not advocating for that a culprit should be spared free. When we say that death penalty should be abolished, it doesn't mean that a culprit or a convict should be spared free. And we have already mentioned 3 ways, and there are also many other ways to punish a culprit.
But the compensation and the psychological treatment is not enough to.
Okay.
That means
and also I want to ask you one question.
Justice of the victim.
Justice of the victim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I want to ask you one question. And what is the possibility of rehabilitation in the case of the life imprisonment without a parole? Without a parole. What is the possibility of rehabilitation?
Okay, life imprisonment is not the unique way we have suggested. If we give
then what is the possibility of rehabilitation in the case of compensation?
If we give rehabilitation,
we can
wait and see a person whether he becomes perfect or not. And if he still continues to be cruel in this world, then we can think of a death penalty or whatever you say of killing a person. And if we give... Okay, a person who's not becoming right in this world, then what can we do?
Then only the death penalty is only...
That's what we are saying, that we should try our best to make this world perfect, where a time comes where the people live in peace and tranquility. And when we think of the justice of the society, justice of the victim, we can understand that. If we give the compensation to the family, it's more than enough. And if he is killed, he is killed. A resource of the world is gone. But if we give him punishment, life imprisonment, he will study a lesson. He will understand the value of life. As you have said, 27 years of a man who have imprisoned, he have studied. You itself said that he studied the value of the life. In such a way, he will study the value of the life and he will become a perfect. If he is not becoming perfect in this world, after we have given him psychological treatment or compensation or whatever we suggested here, then we can see of a thing what you have said.
And you said that no man is perfect in this world, then we are insisted to do that. And that means particularly you are coming to my point that I put here when we started this debate, we never asked the death penalty.
Never.
Never asked the death penalty in all cases. But in the case which the killers are beyond the redemption,
Is that happening in the world?
sure.
Is that happening in the?
You are still saying about the problems in the
directly
patient.
sentencing him to death. That's as you have said in the fact we are just suggesting, and
Excuse
you are
me.
saying the fact. In fact, it is not happening.
Excuse me, you are still saying about the problem in the implementation. Why? But why don't you think about the logic? So I am very happy to know that you are admitting that penalty for a man who killed two people, that penalty is a good way. You told that, and I am very happy to know that. And here I would like to ask you another question. If we avoid him without that penalty, by considering this chance, only the possibility, and if he killed another person, are we did the good thing?
Yes.
Or not?
That's important question. Who is the responsible for the another killing of the victim if he is freed from the death penalty? Who is the responsible for another killing of the killer if he is freed from the death penalty?
Okay, that's what you have said, that we are just finding a solution for the world to be live in peace. So if a person killed a man, then we are just seeking from him whether he will become good or not, and that we should have to check. He is a resource of the world, and he may have many circumstances.
Yeah,
Like we have said in the case of Govindachami, he was striving with his life in such a way. Millions are there who are striving for the bread of life, committing such crimes, and if we give them real treatment, and if we avoid poverty in this world, if we avoid unemployment from this world, if we avoid many other kinds of cruelty to the gender equality and such kinds of problems in this world, we can surely, I am verily perfect in saying that we can avoid death penalty too, because the people will become perfect. People will be in peace and tranquility. I think so. If we avoid many such other kinds of diseases from this world, we can have a good life. Inshallah.
Here you told that there is a chance.
Let me please add on this. He said that majority, or rather more than 90% of culprits are coming from less economic backgrounds. So this is true.
And I have a question. I already asked you a question that now also a lot of people are living in such condition, and if we let the Govindachami to go free without the execution, what the situation like this?
Who say that Govindachami should be spared free? We are not advocating
But
that.
what punishment we will give him?
How many ways we have mentioned rigorous imprisonment?
But by imprisonment for a long time, actually what we are doing, we are feeding him by using the money of the people.
Yeah, we are saying that should also be changed.
Let me interfere.
Our current situation in jails also be changed. So for that we are advocating.
Yeah.
Because what is the condition of jails today? I have already said that a man a culprit who is coming from backward classes may be in trouble, whether he is outside to get his food, and whether he sent to jail after being charged of a crime, he should get food at frequent intervals, and this should be changed. That we are also advocating for.
Let me interfere.
Let them to do more jobs in jail. For example, agriculture, electrician. These are happening in some countries.
I think it is the best way, because again, from a resource we are getting many advantages.
Let me interfere.
If we let him work, we are getting again advantages
such instant in front
from
of
even a crime.
Let me to put such
criminal.
instant in front of you. Why Nathuram Vinayak Godse Gandhi? He was the managing director of a journal. He was not from the let me complete circumstance of socially depressed. And why I don't remember the name of that killer, Rajiv Gandhi. He was graduate. And why the killer behind the mass murder that happened last in the US, I think USA, he was the software engineer. He was not illiterated. Why they kill these people?
Illiteration is not one and alone problem.
Sorry. Let me complete. Still, this is standing in front of you as an apparent instant, an example. still do you believe that the most of the reasons for the mass murder and killing is
Education.
the depressing and worst condition of the social circumstances?
Education and literature is not a way that a man become upgraded, because a man from Amazon forest, he was sent to Oxford University, and after 5 years of graduation he came to his native place, and when we asked what's the change happened to you,
But you mostly focused on the backward communities and their social circumstances. That's why I put this instance in front of you.
Okay, we are saying that education or profession is not the way, because some mental problems we may have some mental problems. That's
In
what I
India,
said.
we are not executing the people to the death penalty who have the mental problems. We are avoiding them from we are considering that problem in India.
What we said is majority of the culprits are coming, not fully. I have mentioned 90% of culprits are coming from less economic backgrounds. This is not mere an argument. This is a fact, because Ramsey Clark, who had been an attorney general in USA, stated that
They are saying that these people who have committed these mistakes, they are coming from the straightforward of this society. That means they are educated.
any case has some exceptions. This may be an exception. We don't argue that full of the cases are not in this manner, but majority of the cases.
Majority of the cases are coming from the law of the employment of the society.
If education is not a solution, then how could be the psychological treatment or the compensation? First of all, we want to think that in the pursuit of acquiring knowledge or attaining education, that person would undergo the psychological treatment and also the compensation in a way, because he want to pay a lot of money, as same like the compensation in the pursuit of the education, and same like he want to undergo many psychological treatments, especially if he's taking the psychological department, getting to the psychological, he may come across many of the psychological theories and concepts. So how could if the education or iteration is not a way, then how could be the psychological treatment and the compensation?
You have just put forward that those person whom you have put forward are much educated and their profession is much well. But we are saying that every person who are educated will not be from in good circumstance. Circumstance we will have to consider it. I point out circumstance is the greater thing we will have to take care in this matter, because this circumstance may be many other problems in the society will make him do so. So we will have to check out, we will have to scrutiny what happened to him, and we will give him treatment. And again he is not becoming moral. We can
in India,
just seek other
in India, according to our system, in Bachchan Singh's verdict, the Supreme Court said that the execution for the death penalty is only for the rarest of cases. At that time, he said that when we are verdict to the death penalty, we have to consider the situation of the culprit. In India, that is the law in the current time. So
we have already mentioned that this term, rarest of rares, is a complicated one.
And at that time,
let me complete it. Whether a judge seem that a case is rarest of rare, that the very same judge may not seem this in another case, and it is also same in the countries, because adultery is a rarest of rare case which can be issued death penalty in Saudi Arabia, but it is not a rarest of rare case in India. So this is a pretty much complicated.
Yes, but the circumstance, the role of the circumstances in one man's conviction is already considered in the death penalty, because only in rarest of rare cases, or only in those certain specified crimes, only the death penalty is given. So that circumstances is already considered or concerned, because I already mentioned that there are three categories of crimes are there. One is that the third degree, not the first degree, the third degree crimes are those which are being inspired by the backgrounds or the exploitations or marginalization, just like the Rohingya people, they are attacking the Buddhist because of their background. So they are not being given the execution or the death penalty. So the circumstances are already considered or concerned in giving the death penalty.
So, what is your stand? We didn't get. What is your stand? What are you asking? I don't know. Again, we'll have to insist on the same point because we are suggesting now. I think the time is getting ended. So we'll have to seek a remedy and we'll have to find a final note of this discussion. So we still argue here that death penalty is not a mere and final solution of the society to become perfect and to be live in peace. Instead of that, in this developed world of 21st century, though we are much educated, we are much well upgraded in our thought and intelligence and diplomacy, we can seek many other solutions like we have suggested here. We are still of the opinion that, and we don't know why the people who are for the motion of this death penalty or capital punishment still obsessed with that.
Okay.
I think
Now, almost 10 minutes or 12 minutes will be remain there. Okay.
So I want to conclude my position that I think you are abolishing or you are opposing the death penalty only because of the certain circumstances or the unfair or unjust being occurred in the sentencing of death penalty. So I think so the death penalty should be so quick, swift, or so just. So we want to reform the way we sentence the death penalty, and instead of completely opposing or abolishing the death penalty, we have to reform certain system of the judicial system of
so
the
yeah, what you're saying is right. Reformation is necessary. We'll have to just stand apart from the traditional system of death penalty, and like as majority of the countries population, we can just keep apart the population because we'll in the statistics of UN we'll just count the countries. Almost 140 countries have already abolished, and many other have kept a moratorium for this, and the retentionists are very few. So we'll have to think that the world itself is coming to our suggestion that our mentality that death penalty should be abolished. So the world is with us.
But there are still some nations which already abolished and they restored the death
Only
penalty. Firstly, they abolished the death penalty, and out of the some conscience or some revelations or revelations that they restored the death penalty once more. Same like in New Zealand in before 1950, once the death penalty was abolished, and then the studies out of some studies they restored the death penalty act.
Okay.
Whether you ever whether you ever think about the cause and backgrounds of this resumption, this was just because of for the political benefits of who are ruling the country.
So here
it was not based on legal.
What are the political benefits of that?
Political benefits. In the case of Ajmal Kasam and Yaqub Memon.
That's not true. They are saying about the New Zealand. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, we are saying about
political backgrounds may change according to the varying countries.
Okay, when we are considering India, even India, I already told that politics are misusing the law in every kind, not only in the case of death penalty, in every sphere of the law they are misusing it. So when we are saying that because of misusing by the political parties, if we want to avoid the death penalty, we have to say that we have to avoid every kind of law and every kind of penalties. And I have to say another thing that here you told that most nations are saying that the death penalty want to be abolished. I already told that one thing, that the majority's decision will always, the majority is always right, not right, because in the past the majority was saying that death penalty is the only one way, and now as you told that most nations are saying that death penalty want to be abolished. In future maybe their arguments will be changed, so we can't consider the majority. And I already told that now the most people or the most nations are allowing the prostitution, and can we say that by considering the majority the prostitution is a good thing?
I think when you argue that there is the chance for the politicalization in the matter of the death penalty, I argue that there is mostly the chance for the politicalization in the lifetime imprisonment and such and the compensation matter. There is also the chance for the politicalization. I think the talking about the politicalization is not better thing here. I think in the matter of both cases you mentioned, they have the chances. They have the most chances even to approach the apex court, that is Supreme Court. But there maybe prosecution got success against them, and their advocate failed to argue their own parts. That is the extreme point of resulted in the execution of those both persons. That's a rare cases, and that's a rare cases in India. That is also in India, rarest cases. But we have to find. I would like to emphasize the point of my friend. We have to consider the general concept and what's happening in a majority manner. We have to consider that when we legalize.
Okay.
We said that majority, about 90% of culprits are coming from backward classes. And what? Okay,
It's accuracy, 90%.
90%.
I need the authorized source for that. 90%. It's not believable.
If this is accuracy, there is any source?
I think that's a fake measurement.
Sorry, majority. Sorry, okay, majority. Okay, majority of the culprits are coming from backward classes, and what it will be resulted in. And you said about the failure of prosecution. You just understand that these culprits who are coming from backward classes are basically economically bad, and these people may not have chance to hire good lawyers and a good access to the law system. So they may be forced to be live in jail and then be executed.
Okay, I think we are going to end this discussion here, and here is only one chance for you that you can speak out of your concept on this discussion. What is your concept? And after that you can ask a special question. That means a very interesting and very important question to ask to your viral group against them. Okay, the first chance will be given to these personalities, to this group. You can ask your concept. You can say your concept, and after that you can ask one question to them. Only one or two or very clarification. Only with clarified reply is expected from you. Okay? Yeah.
Okay. Now I think we are just winding up this discussion. At last, we will have to say, and we are just of the opinion that death penalty should be completely abolished from this world, because as I have said earlier, no man is a criminal and no man is constant in his crime. Man can be reformed and retained from his crime. So we'll have to think alternative ways. The traditional system of death penalty should be completely avoided, and the alternative systems which we didn't take an attempt to prove in this world yet will have to take place in this world for us to find a good future. And it's much fantastic to say that if I kill a person, then it is a crime, and if government kills me, it's a justice. Wow, magnificent. I don't think it's much logic. And at last, we'll have to say that many other in this developed world, in this educated world of 21st century, as many of the people, or majority of the countries who have implemented abolition to this death penalty is of our view. So I think we are much forward in our vision, and we should go forward with these types of treatments, like psychological treatments, compensations, and many other remedies are available for us.
Okay.
And one thing we have to say, like the countries like India, just obsessed and being the call and bucks of Britain, after going from this India from 1947, India only legalized this death penalty in 1947. After the Britain have implemented all these kind of vulgarities in our country, and they now just abolished every such vulgarity. So we are just being the call and bucks. It should not be like that. And if death penalty is the solution for the world to live in peace and tranquility, then this until from this 14th and 20th, the available centuries from the beginning, since the beginning of the death penalty, we couldn't find a remedy. So we seek you the remedy. Where is the remedy? It's not the correct method of the world.
Okay, what's your question?
Where is the remedy?
What is the remedy? Okay.
From the traditional system, we were continuing to kill people who commit crimes, but we couldn't find a remedy.
Okay.
Yes. First
But
of
one
all,
of the person can
we
conclude.
want to understand that the death penalty or any kind of punishments have certain objectives to do. And when we discuss the question of this punishment or the death penalty, we want to consider 3 or 4 points. First of all the guilty should be punished. And the second one, only the guilty should be punished. And the third point is that all guilty should be punished in accordance with the proportion, in accordance with the atrocity or the severity of the crime he committed. And the fourth point is, by these arguments we can clearly say that the concept of justice prevailing in our society is so justifiable, is so supportive to the death penalty, which would be given only to those rarest of rare cases. So we want to consider these questions when we look the question of death penalty. And lastly, I want to say add one more thing, that the opponents, they are already said that the majority, they are using the word majority, but I think even the usage of the word majority is beyond the accuracy. It's beyond the accuracy. So you want to be accurate in your positions, in your stance when you are argumenting.
Okay.
Let me add one more thing, that my friend prolonged about the psychological approachment and treatments. Okay, I'm coming to the psychology. Let me put in front of you a psychological treatment. He asks, what is the remedy? I say, here is the remedy, a psychological treatment. The remedy that which will tackle these all problems that I believe in a psychological approachment, that is to deter them. To deter them, that is possible to such an extent at all means, I think, than your suggestions. I think that's a psychological treatment. And we never let them to happen here, the recidivism. That's a form I already mentioned, the recidivism. That no, that is fact in front of us. That's your imagination is the possibility. Let me complete. The recidivism, to return to the previous behavioral structure, especially the dictionary specifies that especially into the criminal background. We never let to happen this here. The letting them walk free without this kind of the deterring punishments, I think that may encourage them to repeat that. So here we have a psychological treatment that to deter them.
Okay, what is the question towards this?
I would like to ask a question, that you told that earlier there is a chance if we give him a chance, there's a possibility to him to become a good man. Yeah, I am admitting that. But what he after that, if he has repeated the same crime, who are the responsibility?
Okay, you can ask, you can reply.
So, we are not going beyond our imaginations or our suggestions. We are just catching strongly with our facts, and we are asking who are the responsibility for the second killing done by the same criminal. So that's what I'm asking. I'm saying that if we give
this is my question and you have to answer.
Okay. If we let him to live, or if we give him some psychological punishment, or what we say in such treatment, and again he is killing a person, we can give him double punishment. He will have to give the
But my question is not that. Who has the responsibility for the second murder? That is my question.
Then we will have to ask who is the responsible for the first killing also. That's all.
That's him. That's why we are executing him to the penalty.
Let's stop here. So the time is over now. Congratulations, thanks for all the candidates for the discussion. Okay, and here it's declared that this discussion is dissolved here. Okay.
ഇതോടുകൂടി PG വിഭാഗം ഡിബേറ്റ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് മത്സരം അവസാനിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു. മത്സരത്തിന് വിധികർത്താക്കളായ